Okay, welcome to Monday. Kathy still gone? She's working her way over here. Okay. I assume you're waiting for her, right? Yeah, okay. You made it back, did you? Did you have any flight issues?
No,
No, good, good.
I'm back. And we're here to discuss Kathy Fent Baxter, Finance Director. We're here to discuss financial review for the Health and Human Services Department. So are we started yet? It doesn't, are we needing a new projector? You want me to load it up?
Yeah, it's on there. They can see in theirs.
We'll see on our screen. It just won't show
Okay,
up there very well.
okay, perfect. We want you to be able to see.
Yeah. I know we got a new projector on the way, right? Yeah.
Do we know a delivery date?
It's supposed to be.
Okay.
So is it showing for you what I'm sharing?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, good. So the first item that we'll be talking about is the Fund for Veterans Relief. And this financial is through November 20th. It was produced that date. And so wasn't quite a full month for November, but that's the date we ran the reports. So Veterans Relief receives taxes. Those were budgeted at $222,000. They've received so far $229,000, a little bit greater than what we had budgeted. This is part of the property tax general fund levy, the portion that goes to the Veterans Relief Fund. That's primarily what that is. Intergovernmental, we budgeted a whopping $51 and we brought in $68. Very immaterial. Miscellaneous, we budgeted $49,000. We've brought in $29,976. This is primarily interest income on the funds. So we still have the month of November and the month of December bookings for investment income. So it's showing that we're not quite at budget yet, but we should not be significantly off on that. And then for other financing sources, this was we budgeted $38,000. We have actuals of $33,000. This was a transfers from the general fund to help cover some administrative costs before we changed that methodology. And so that really represents a prior year administrative expenses that were billed in January, I believe. That's it for revenue. For expenses, personnel, These were personnel expenses that were allocated to this fund. We budgeted 32,000. We, so far through November 20th, have $24,811 expensed. For services, we budgeted 247,000. We've expensed 162,000. That's primarily on the services, primarily internal fund services, as well as services that are dispersed for veterans programs. So there aren't any real personnel here other than the allocation of some personnel overhead expenses.
Yeah. Before we leave Veterans Relief, and Gina and I have talked about this a little bit, but I'd like to have probably in the first quarter next year, a workshop on that. Because we've built up kind of a fund there and it consumes their mind over there, at least at the meetings I've been to. And I think we need to give some direction of what we want to see that used.
Yes, I'll
For-
plan to get that
yeah.
scheduled first part of next year.
Okay, the next fund is Human Services Fund. This fund receives some taxes, primarily intergovernmental projects. Taxes are budgeted at $494,000. We have brought in $509,000 or almost $510,000, so a little bit over budget there. Intergovernmental, it was budgeted at $1.475,000. We've brought in $533,000. These are, I believe, projects because of the state's cycle being June 30th ending. And so we're probably not going to bring in all of that $1.4 million, but we also are not going to have expenses on the other side of that as well. So you'll see that in a minute when we look at the expenses. Goods and services, we budgeted $13,359. We brought in $13,569. Miscellaneous, that's primarily investment income. This is, we budgeted $65,000 and we brought in almost $37,000. Again, we still have a couple of more months of booking investment income. And so I think overall we'll be fine on the revenue side. As I was saying, on the expense side, we have personnel budgeted $390,000. We've expended $333,000 through November 20th. We still have a couple more payrolls to go through, but we're pretty much on track with where we're targeted for that. Supplies, we budgeted almost $13,000. We've expended $7,500. And so we're fine on that. We're under target. Services, this is where you'll see we budgeted $1,142,000. We've only expended $699,000. And so we're below what we're targeting, but that's primarily because of the years with those grants. Transfers, we have a transfer budget at $91,250. We haven't had any transfers so far this year. I don't know if those will happen in the fourth quarter, but we don't have any actuals for that yet. And this account, we show 7 individuals that are assigned to this department, but they allocate their salaries across several different funds, as you'll see when we're discussing Health and Human Services. But they're assigned to the Human Services Department, 7 individuals. And no vacancies on that. The next one is our CMH Substance Abuse Fund. And this is the fund that when we talk about the budget, I believe this is the fund that we're dissolving. And so we're in the transition process of dissolving this fund, no longer using it. And instead, everything will, in the future, will be out of the Fund 14001. So we have intergovernmental, do I have this up? Okay, intergovernmental revenue budget at 2.8 million. We've brought in 991,000. This is where they do billings. And so we don't anticipate that we will bring in all of this revenue for this fund. I believe so. They have, I believe they'll have some collections for the first part of the year that they may still be doing, but I don't believe we'll bring in any additional significant amount of revenues to this account. But then you'll see on the expense side, we also are under budget for the expenses related to those grants.
So we're dissolving this fund because of,
I'm sorry.
we are dissolving this fund because of, we're no longer collecting the tax for it? Is that what that is?
Well, we ended up with two different funds that both operate grants and contracts through them. And so we're just combining that into one fund. So instead of having two separate funds that both sort of are doing the same process, we have different grants. And for whatever reason, some grants were getting channeled into this substance abuse fund, even though it wasn't necessarily substance abuse. Like our developmental disabilities contract, for example, was going into this fund. So we're just transitioning, closing this one. And so they will all go through the human services fund that we were just talking about previously.
Okay.
It was
And
just sort of a cleanup.
Yeah,
Consolidating.
to be more efficient
Mhm.
and just have one fund.
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Okay.
And then you'll see on the revenues, on the expense side, we're significantly under budget here as well, just like on the revenue, because it's transitionary. We have personnel that have been allocated here for the various grants and projects. And we had budgeted 152,000. We've expended almost 88,000 for that. So we're under budget there. Services, we budgeted 2,009,000. We've only expended 963,000. Transfers, we had budgeted 32,500. We've transferred 17,468. I think that was related to some CJ
CJTA.
TA grants. And so we're significantly under budget on all of our expenses for this account, but also on the revenue side, we're under budget.
When we say we budgeted this is basically what the state says we can get reimbursed up to.
Right. It's mostly reflected.
It's not money they've sent us. It's just saying
Right.
you can be reimbursed up to 2,009,000 or 2 million, a little over $2 million.
Right. It's what
If we
comes
don't
to
have
us.
expenses that
Mhm.
fit their reimbursement stuff, then we don't reach that.
Right.
I'd like to make it clear, it's not money we have sitting in there. It's just
Right.
basically,
It's
the
what
state
comes to
said,
us in the
yeah.
contract, and then we utilize what we utilize. And then towards the end of the year, we often will then clean up our expenditures to match what was utilized.
right.
Yep. So they're under, if they had received the revenue, it would show in the revenue, but as you can see, they're under budget for revenue and they're under budget for expense. Okay, the next fund is low-income housing. And this fund has some taxes associated with it. So we budgeted 171,000. We brought in so far 131,000. On intergovernmental, we budgeted 4.4 million, almost close to 4.5 million. We've brought in 1.6 million on this fund. We have goods and services that were budgeted 587,000. We've brought in 611,000 so far, so we're over budget on that revenue line. Miscellaneous, we budgeted 182,000. We've brought in almost 65,000. So we're below budget on that line. And then other financing sources, this is a transfer that takes place from this fund, I think, over to the other fund that has to do with not low income, but homeless. I think to the homeless housing fund. So we budgeted 75,000 and we've expended 59,000. Is there anything, comments you want to make on this one?
Is this the one you would call, is this the consolidated grant?
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is a good
Yeah.
example of what
Well-
we were just talking about.
Yeah, because in next year, they're saying we can go up to 11 million, right?
Right.
So this is gonna look a lot different. This past year, I think the actual thing was a little over 8.2
For over the 2 years, I think.
for 2 years.
Yeah, so the 11 million was for a 2-year period. That's why what you see here is like the budgeted for our revenues, the
Yeah.
7 million or so. It also includes the document recording fees, so they're kind of all lumped in here together.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see on this one as well, revenue, we're under budget on revenue, but we're also under budget on expenses. So on the expenditure side, this is where personnel are out, some personnel are allocated to this fund. We have almost 253,000 budgeted, and we've expended 186,000 through November 20th. Services, we budgeted almost 3.5 million, and we've expended 2.2 million. So we're under budget on the expenses as well as we were on the revenue side. The next one is the opioid funds. This is the settlement funds that we're receiving on an annual basis. These are budgeted in miscellaneous. So miscellaneous covers both investment income as well as the settlement funds. We budgeted 579,000. We've received in 564,000 from this fund. On the expenditure side, we have a small amount of personnel expenses allocated to this. We budgeted almost $5,000, and we've expended 4,000 so far. And then we have a little bit of services budgeted there, 3,000, and we've expended $2,531. Now we go to the health department, and the health department, they have pretty much equally licensing permits as well as grants. So they've budgeted $1,037,000 for licenses and permits. They've received in so far this year 1.1 million, so they're above budget for their licensing and permits. On their intergovernmental, these are grants and contracts. They budgeted 1.4 million. They've brought in almost 791,000 so far. Goods and services budgeted at 616, and they brought in almost 613,000. So they're almost right at their budget for goods and services. And miscellaneous would represent investment income and some miscellaneous items. They budgeted $161,934. They brought in $12,530 there. I don't believe they'll make budget on that one, but but they're in excess on their licenses and permits, so. On their expenditures, they have personnel is their largest budget. It's 2.9 million, 2,965,000. They've expended 2,020,000 so far through November. So they're on track for their expenditure. They're actually a little bit below their expenditure budget there. They have 21 filled FTEs and 3 vacant open FTEs. Supplies, we budgeted 101,000. They've expended 142,000, so they're a little bit over on that budget, but they're below their other budgets. Services, they budgeted 1.6 million. They've have 788,000 actuals. And the debt service expenditure has to do with the reversal of the prior year SPIDA transaction. So that's an account financial entry that was reversed at the beginning of the year. So under budget on some expenses as well as under budget on their their billings. And I guess that's it. And if there's anything Gina wants to add.
I don't think so, unless there's questions.
Is it fair to say, and I think it is, that this HHS pretty much operates off the fees and the state contracts they get. There's
Mm.
very little, if any, that is supported through general fund.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, there is no general fund.
So
support.
they're almost, when we look at it, it's almost like an enterprise fund. It kind of supports itself, its own operation over there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
all right. Let me stop sharing that one.
You've probably noticed, I failed to mention Commissioner Rader is having some back issues today, so he won't be in.
Okay. So we had on our calendar of departments to come up, we have juvenile detention and juvenile probation slated next, and George is going to join me for all the tough questions. So juvenile detention is a general fund, so their revenue will not equal their expenses. They're supported by the general fund. But they do have some revenues. They have goods and services budgeted at 55,500. They've brought in so far this year 68,714, so they're slightly above budget there. Miscellaneous, we didn't have a budget, but it's very immaterial. It's $886 actual, so that's showing over budget or under budget for revenue. Other financing sources is budgeted at 32,800. That represents transfers in of revenues, and we've expended $31,761 for that. And I believe, I'm not sure where that transfer is coming from, but it's a small transfer in.
Was that, it almost looks like kind of the amount when we did we do dryers or something? We did some equipment over there?
Good morning, Commissioners. George Moya, Juvenile Court. You're absolutely right. That was
ARPA.
ARPA funding for the commercial
Yeah.
industrial washer and dryer. Mhm.
So they spent less than what they were allowed to spend on that.
Yeah.
Okay, then now we'll go to their expenses. Juvenile detention personnel is by far their largest expense. They have budgeted $2.8 million for their personnel expenses. through November 20th, they've expended 2,162,000 approximately of their expenses. And on a target basis, we would have expected them to spend about 2.3 million at this point in time. They do have some vacancies. They have 3.75 of unfilled positions. And so that accounts for some of the variance there. Supplies were budgeted at 59,000. They've expended 49,000, so they're under budget for supplies so far. Services were budgeted at 529,000. They've expended 496. Most of the services are the internal service billings, about 300 and almost 380,000 of that 529 budgeted was for internal services, like IT and risk management. Any questions, other questions on detention? We'll go into the juvenile probation. Juvenile probation, again, is a general fund, so their revenues will not equal their expenses. They're supported by the general fund, but they do have some revenues coming in. They have internal governmental budgeted at 406,000. They've brought in so far 377,000, so they're on track with this budget. Goods and services, I think that was just a miscellaneous item for $200, but we haven't brought in anything yet. Miscellaneous is budgeted at 226,000. They brought in 166,000, and 160,000 of that was related to the BECA funding, and that comes in from the state. Other financing sources was budgeted at 140, almost 149,000. They brought in 118. Those are transfers in. They had some funds coming in from the mental health tax funds for supporting the clinician, I believe.
Clinician.
Yeah. So they still have another couple of months that they can submit reimbursement request on that. That's why it's under budget.
The way it looks now, we expect BECA funding is going to go away, unfortunately.
It was heavily reduced, about what, close to almost 70% reduction. Entering this new legislative session, it's going to be a short legislative session, and we
Yeah.
don't know what the outcome of that may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, on the juvenile probation, their expenditure budget, they're by far the largest item they have is their personnel expense, and that's budgeted at 1.6 million. They've expended so far $1.1 million of actuals. They actually have 2 vacancies right now, and they have a total of 13 filled positions. So that accounts for some of the fact that they're below their target on a 12-month average. And then supplies were budgeted 25,500, and they've expended 20,594. On services, it was budgeted at 707, almost 708,000. They've expended 550,000, and 277,000 of their budget is related to internal service billings. So they're below their services target for the year. And that's all I have on their financials. If there's anything that George would like to share with you.
These numbers are all current as of 11/20.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Agenda item reviews, I see. There's Travis. I see IT on here. Travis, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Good morning. Travis Fiscini, I'm IT Director. So I have a proposal for tomorrow to move forward with a contract with BGSF. They're a PeopleSoft vendor who specializes in software services and staffing. They're going to provide Cowlitz with PeopleSoft ERP support. And it's primarily going to be, a combination of functional and technical support as needed. So it'll support each of our components or modules, and they'll help us ensure that we have optimal performance. They'll do continuous improvement and assist us with planning for business continuity should we have a problem. Contract's a 1-year contract. That's 480 hours at the rate of $90,000. It'll be billed and broken up monthly. And there's an additional $30,000 in the contract for enhancements that are optimizations that are not minor. So if we request things that take more than a few hours, those would be add-ons, not in the initial statement of work.
Is Travis, I know you've been looking for somebody to help with PeopleSoft for a while. Is this something like IT does, or do departments have ability to, they have a question and call and get an answer, or is it all run through IT?
Yeah, that's a good question. The initial intent is for IT to escalate and bring everything to them, as opposed to having the departments contact them directly.
Okay,
So if IT is unable to answer their question, then we'll engage them.
okay. Okay, see any questions? Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
I don't see is she online? Kaylee is? Go ahead, Kaylee.
Good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Awesome. I think the only thing that I have on the agenda today for you is a reconveyance. I had brought this to the attention of the board a few weeks ago. This is for that old CDBG grant that the county used to have, and we would record that $25,000 lien that depreciates over time. And we have a recipient of that grant that is selling their home, so they would like to pay off the remainder of that lien. And so this is just to officially get that reconveyance signed so I can get it recorded. They have already sent in the check to pay off their remaining amount, and everything is ready to go.
Okay, I'm just making a note. Okay, pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, commissioners.
Or elections. Kaylee, you're still on for election. Haley, sorry.
Perfect. No, you're good. I'll send it to you, Haley.
Good morning, commissioners. I submitted the contracts for our 5 diking districts, just an agreement between us and the districts to conduct their elections. If they happen to have more than 2 people file, usually doesn't happen, but I presented those for you guys to sign off on. A lot of copies to sign, but if you have any questions about it, just let me know.
Okay, and that's for, looks like the first 5 on here, CDID 1, 2, 3.
DID 15 and Silver Lake Flood Control District.
Okay. Okay, Haley, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
You too, thank you.
Finance. Noxious weeds, okay. Oh, sorry, yeah. We should name you something other than noxious. I mean, that's kind of,
Good morning, Jennifer Mendoza with Cowlitz County Noxious Weeds. I'm here today. We have a $5,000 grant coming from the State Weed Board to help control Class A species within our county. This allows us to do control work for private landowners for our highest priority species. This grant will include milk thistle, slender flower thistle, and Turkish thistle, which are all 3 Class A thistles. And then the remainder of the grant will go towards our false brome work, which is a grass species that's fairly invasive and also a high priority. We get about $5,000 and we need to use that before June of next year. So this is an annual grant cycle.
okay. And we use this one to kind of help private landowners?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Is it something they can call you on or you notice it and
Most of the landowners that we work with, we notice that they have the species and reach out to them. However, if somebody noticed they had one of these species and reach out to us, it would work that way
it
too,
would work that way?
as long as we have funding available still.
Okay. Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, for the finance department, tomorrow, we have a couple of things, I believe, on the agenda.
You have a few things.
We have a whole list, right? I believe we also, it's that time of year. Last week, we did the general fund and the road fund levy for the county, and now it's time, we will be presenting those levies that are for various entities within the county that are required by RCW to be presented before the board. There's not a resolution, except there may be one diking district that we do have to have you do the resolution on, but most of those levies are just bringing the information to the board.
So it's a public hearing tomorrow, so are you wanting to take these individually?
No, the public hearing is actually for, I believe the public hearing is just for the items related to our budget. Do we have a public hearing for the levies as well?
Well, under
Yeah.
public hearing, I have it listed, the Transportation Improvement Program, annual construction and fixed asset purchases, 5-year capital plan.
Those are all for the county. So we have, I should have a resolution for the, we have one fund that we're dissolving that we talked about just a little while ago. The CMH Substance Abuse Fund is a resolution to dissolve that fund because it will no longer be necessary because they will be using the Human Services Fund. I should have, you're right, I should have the 5-year capital plan, 5-year CIP facilities plan before you. And I should have the resolution for setting of fees for the equipment rental rates, which we previously workshopped. And the fees, I'm sorry, okay, good, thanks, Sean. Should have the fees, the resolution for the fees for the water and sewer rates for
Yeah.
customers. And the construction, the 6-year transportation improvement fund, I believe that was submitted by our engineer, county engineer. So there's a resolution for that as well. And let's see what else, what a resolution. And then the big one is the resolution for the biennial budget that we will be presenting. as well.
Okay. So I guess my question is, do all of these need to be as a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, they all are part of a public, all of those are part of the public hearing. And so
And-
we take them individually
and
and
that,
allow public comment, and then we move to the next resolution.
okay. What I don't see that you mentioned, I see the 6-year
Levies.
transportation, I see the annual construction, I see the 5-year capital plan, the fees, the equipment fees, the water, sewer fees, and a budget. I don't see the elimination of
Okay, so I need to go in there and make sure that that one's in there. The resolution that, because I do have a resolution for dissolving that one fund. So I'll go back and make sure that's on the list. I'll work with the clerk to get that resolved.
Okay. Okay,
And then, like I said, there should be something on the agenda for the levies related to the different cities, the school districts, et cetera, those levies where you have to at least you have to acknowledge receiving those, and it's not part of a public hearing
right.
because they have their,
Those usually come on, I see those on consent agenda
yes,
when they come on.
right. So there will be that one district, there's a resolution because it's a special district and special purpose. It's one resolution for all of those, but it's not part
Yeah.
of a public hearing. It's item number 10.
Yeah,
And then there's item number 11. Those are related to levies that are required to come before you.
they do their budgets. They call it certified, but we're not,
Right,
we're just acknowledging basically.
right. They have their own public hearings
Yeah,
related to that, but we're acknowledging that. And that's so that they can then be turned into the assessor's office. Yep. So we will have a busy,
I just want to say, I don't see any chance of Board of Health starting at 10 tomorrow.
yeah, I don't think so either.
After lunch, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think. And then, like I said, so I will also have some supplemental information, as in the past, I've given you a narrative on the budget to talk about the major items and things like that. They're in the budget. And so I will be I will send that to you probably sometime today and have it available as a handout for tomorrow's public hearing. I just hadn't had a chance, just got back, landed yesterday, so
yeah,
I will have some narrative related to major items in the budget and challenges that we're facing, so.
okay. Gonna be a fun day before you get out of here, huh?
Yes, I'm gonna fulfill my promise. I will finish the budget before I leave. And my last day is December 31st.
Yeah, I know it.
So
I know.
even if we have to open the public hearing and reconvene it, I'm here till the 31st.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Public Works.
Good morning, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. The good news for everybody is I don't have quite as many items this week as I did last week. So we have one item on consent. It's the contract completion letter to Active Construction for the Eric Creek Fish Passage contract. As a reminder, this was a Protect funded grant. The original bid was $1,913,913, and the final cost was $1,928,817.73. So we came in about 15,000 over the original bid. We did have one large change order for time delays caused by the utilities. So it ran into some additional costs for the contractor, such as leasing the traffic light and some of their pumps they had for the bypass. So we paid additional dollars for that, and that was brought to the board as change order number 4. I can't remember what month we brought that, but we did bring that for your approval prior. So this was well within a normal change order on a project, or to come in about 10,000 over on a 1.9. That's a reasonable expectation. All right. So then we have 3 motion items. The first is, I've got my papers out of order somehow. Now, what did I do with them? So the first is the award for Allender Road Bridge. I had all my notes written up.
14, we're,
Which one am I on? I'm sorry, I've lost my thread here.
I'm seeing, press,
Personal services for BHC.
Yeah.
Okay, they're in a different order than I had them printed out. So personal services for BHC. BHC is our consultant that we use for as-needed services for the landfill. So this request is to amend their existing contract by $1.2 million and extend the date to December 31st, 2027. The existing contract is $1 million, and we have obligated all the dollars in the initial contract. So this additional 1.2 million is an estimate based on projects that we know we are starting next calendar year. It includes a closure of a portion of headquarters landfill. So we want to do that to, there's several reasons. One's for our permit requirements, but beyond that, it's good housekeeping practices. It was going to be only in areas that have reached their final capacity and are no longer settling significantly. You put the top cover on, so you're no longer getting water in there, so it helps slow down the creation of leachate, so it drops towards the final almost zero, and it will help optimize our gas collection. So that's why we're going through closure on as a portion of the landfill. The next is replacing the Tenant Way flare. So Tenant Way is our closed landfill, and our current flare is oversized, so it's not operating efficiently. It will cut off, and we have a hard time getting it to restart. So we're starting to have violations or potential violations of our permit. So this project will downsize to meet the current and future gas needs as Tenant Way, as the gas production decreases to the end of our maintenance life. And the final big project that we're starting is a upgrade to our existing leachate system up at the landfill. So as it rains, it comes out the pipe into a collection pond. So then that water is pumped down to Turwa. Turwa is making their standards more stringent, so our discharge no longer will meet for biochemical oxygen demand. Tomorrow I'll probably forget to spell it out, and so if I say BOD, just say, Susan, what does that again? So we're having issues meeting that and ammonia. So we need to provide some type of minor treatment. We're looking for something passive, be it baffles or a bubbling system that we can hold the leachate longer before we release it so we can remove some of this total suspended solids that causes the biochemical oxygen demand. So that is one of the other projects we'll be working on. We'll also continue using their services for waste plans, waste filling plans, waste acceptance, and some other miscellaneous operation support where we have a question that takes them a half a day to answer. Well, we have a task order set up for them to be able to do those questions. So I know it's a big ask, and we will probably be coming back sometime during this 2-year period for other items, projects as they come up, but these are the ones that we need to start in the next 6 to 9 months.
Once you close portions of it headquarters, if 20 years down the road, it's developed capacity, are they reopenable, or when they're closed, they're closed?
Generally, when they're closed, they're closed. So these are a lot of the early cells so they have the disposal waste and.
That's
Yes.
not the,
Then I'll jump to a lot of it's, the side slope areas that are close to the roads. So they're thinner areas that may not see as much degradation over the years.
Compaction.
Yeah.
okay. And the flare, so reading this, what I'm hearing is that gases are declining over there, and so we got a flare that's just too big for what we need anymore.
Yes, that's exactly correct. What's going on down there.
We went down the path of seeing if we could have no flare. We're not to that point yet. That flare's been installed since 92, since when it was opened. And
Yeah.
kind of really end of life as well.
Okay. And then the last, you say Turwa has put additional restrictions. Do they put on, or is that mandated to them? Where's that coming from? Probably ecology, I'm guessing.
So this is a study that they've done, that they are studying their headwork. They call it their headwork study to determine what levels of waste coming in will upset their system. So it's not just being put on the leachate in the landfill. It's also being directed towards Foster Farms and some of the other industrial users. They feel if they get this, they call it high strength waste, that it will upset the system. And so they will not be able to treat it properly, and they will have permit violations. So we have a permit as an industrial user to discharge to Turwa, which is approved by Turwa and Ecology. So that is where these changes are coming from.
Okay.
Well, that flare system, we're gonna remove a oversized one. Is it usable at headquarters? Is it something we're gonna resell? Is it junk?
Are we talking the flare?
Yes.
So yeah, it's really end of life. The vacuum pumps on it, the turbines, they're really worn. They're made out of fiberglass. They've been sitting in the sun for 30 some odd years. The stack, if you get close up to it, it's pretty worn out, discolored, and really end of life. It's time for a new one.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, how big are they? Are they like tall as this ceiling, taller,
I'd say about 30 foot tall.
That's
30 foot tall?
Yeah. About maybe 10 foot wide.
So it's pretty
Yeah.
good size.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
Okay, so I'll try and stay in order.
next one I see is Allender.
So the next is the Allender Road Bridge Award. So this, we went out and opened the bids on November 17th. We received 13 bids. Which was a lot, that's just unusual for us. So the lowest bidder was Western United Civil Group at $1,647,545.25. The next lowest bidder was about $4,000 higher than that. And the third was very close also. So we had a clustering really close on that amount. So we're confident that this is a good bid. We have gone through the responsible bidder paperwork. And this is funded with STP bridge dollars, so that's federal highway bridge dollars. And so WashDOT has confirmed it's funded up to 100% up to $2 million. And then after that amount, we'll have to ask if they have extra dollars that we can do the normal 86.5. So if things go per plan, no big change orders, we will be funded to 100%. So the additional dollars we spend are staff time, some consultant time, and then testing company time above the 1.6 on the construction. So we're very happy. This is the engineer's estimate was $2.1 million. So we're very pleased with the bids we received.
2.1 was our estimate.
2.1, yes. We think it was all in the timing and everybody's finishing their projects looking for next year.
Well, yeah, you got 13 bids. People are looking for work out there, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay.
So item 15 on the agenda is a bid award to AET for as-needed electrical services at the headquarters landfill. It's a not to exceed of $150,000, and it does have an option for an additional year. We went out for bid on that, open bids on November 17th. We had 2 bidders back on that. Just highlighting it is a not to exceed. For the last year, we spent about 75. This is the same contractor we have on call currently through the end of the year.
Looks like we're good.
Anything for us today?
I don't believe so.
Thanks, sir.
You have any HR items?
She's come 10.
Oh, just a couple minutes away. Hi, Jessica. Hey. Okay.
We don't have any genius backyard inventors who are trying to get to the moon that we can sell that gas flow to.
I know, right? Yeah. I almost feel like you should at least advertise it because you never know.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand.
Good morning, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. First request this morning comes from the prosecuting attorney's office. He's requesting to continue one of his part-time deputy prosecuting attorney's work, and he has some more information on that.
So we have Russell Lutman, who's been in our office now since, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, but in 2024, he left us to go to Multnomah County, work at the DA's office. That lasted 2 weeks. It was not his environment that he wanted to be in. So since then, he came back to us. He was working 3 days a week. He was our part-time DPA. A few months ago, he went to 2 days a week. We expected him to be done probably this month, but he's willing to stay on a while longer. However, the issue that comes up, and I can provide you guys copies. Mr. Lutman is attempting to start working privately in the state of Oregon. Basically a solo practitioner, picking up some clients here and there. But in order for him to work part-time for my office, it basically requires legislative blessing approval.
So you're just showing us, you're talking about item 2 here, that we fit the parameters for that to happen?
Yeah, so we're between 18,000 and 125,000, and it basically says in order for him to serve part-time and engage in private practice, if the legislative authority so provides. So I take that as basically your blessing. The only potential issue in a scenario like this, like for example, let's say he worked locally in a private practice, we would be doing conflict checks, whether he's representing anybody that's being prosecuted in our office or has a civil claim or whatnot. I guess that's a remote possibility here, but he is in Hillsborough starting civil stuff that is non-criminal, non-governmental in Oregon. So any cases that he currently handles, which is therapeutics, he would check for conflicts, but I don't foresee that there's any potential conflict that would arise in this scenario. So
He's not expressing any interest in his private practice locally.
no, I mean, I guess it's a possibility he could pick up a Washington client, but he actually lives in Hillsborough. So he drives over the pass the 2 days he comes in. He used to live locally. His wife retired from the hospital. They sold that house down on the old west side and maintained their farm in Hillsborough. So I don't foresee any scenario where there's a conflict that does arise. He handles therapeutics. Most of his civil stuff is estate planning and maritime law. He has a few clients just starting. So we anticipate him hopefully helping us out through into next year, perhaps 6 months into next year. It's ultimately up to him, but he's willing to work more, which is needed right now given vacancies. And so I think what I would propose is I can probably just propose a letter of understanding to the Board of County Commissioners that you guys can sign off on. And I think that satisfies the statute as well as his ethical obligations on his end and our end. So
How do we compensate him? Is it like an hourly rate or?
he gets paid hourly.
Okay.
Yeah, so right now he's working 2 days a week. I think he's going to be working an additional 4 days over the next couple of weeks just to help cover things. But yeah, so for the last 2 months, he's been working Tuesday, Wednesday, 8:30 to 5. So we pay him hourly.
Okay.
And I don't recall specifically what step he's at, but I think it's step 4 or 5, which is about $51 an hour. And he is underneath the benefits line, so hour-wise. So he's just straight hourly and part-time employee.
Think we're good? Yeah.
So I can draft something and maybe you guys can.
Yeah.
And then the next item is an executive session for performance of a public employee.
Okay.
We'll do 5 minutes. Do you want longer?
Okay, executive session, performance of public employee, 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, back from executive session, no decisions rendered. Jessica, I'll turn it to you.
Okay, I have one additional request from the prosecuting attorney's office. He's requesting to promote his deputy prosecuting attorney, Alyssa Draper Dehart, to a senior DPA at step 1, as well as including her step date to stay the same of August 1st. And this promotion would be effective today, December 1st.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
that's
today.
it. Anything else for today? Okay. we will adjourn. Thank you.